Hey everyone, how's it going today, everybody? I'm here to talk about the fires, weather engineering, and the New World Order Agenda 2030. So, I never wanted to think that this was going to unravel the way it is and actually be a reality. I didn't want the fires to be so questionable, um, but it all falls in line with the theories that we've had, and they're all coming to fruition. So it's really important right now. A very important piece of the puzzle right now is that people of all walks of life start to really wake up to the fact that there is ongoing weather warfare, weather engineering, geoengineering, solar radiation management, stratospheric aerosol injections, metallic aerosol, chemtrails, like whatever the term, which these are all synonyms, right? Whatever the term, it's ongoing and it's impacting all these different agendas. And the big agenda, of course, which is climate change, global warming, and then the reaction thereof, which is smart cities and 15-minute cities and net zero. And for those of us in the West, in the far West, like in North America, if you don't know about net zero, it's important to take a look at what that is. So it's especially rearing its ugly head in Europe and UK right now, but the entire world, at least the Western world, is soon to be subjected to net zero, and we need to know all about it. It means no carbon output at all. Like you can't drive a car or get a banana if it had carbon behind it, you know what I mean? So the weather engineering is so important. We all have to play our part in helping rise the consciousness and help awaken our peers and whatnot. And you can do it in different ways. Some people just need a little nudge. Some people need you to tie them to the couch and put on a documentary for them or something, you know. Different strokes for different folks, but we are here for a reason, and the weather engineering is a huge part of it. So as far as like we're going to talk about the fires, we're going to talk about global warming, climate change. As far as global warming, climate change goes, there is no anthropogenic, man-made carbon global warming. All that is nonsense. All that is a big falsehood. But the way they're able to sell that story is through the chemtrail, atmospheric aerosols, geoengineering campaigns. So it's intensified over the years, but especially during the early 1990s, people started witnessing these grid patterns in the sky and started having to test their soil and rainwater and blood and hair and everything. And the primary constituents kept coming up, matching the patents, which are aluminum, barium, strontium. And over time, it becomes very obvious that it's not a coincidence. That's the same constituents keep coming up, and then programs like NASA and what have you, they even say, yeah, we use aluminum, barium, strontium to make noctilucent chemical clouds because we use the atmosphere as a laboratory. But it's more than that. It's an ongoing campaign and it's massive. It's so big. I mean, on a daily basis, we're talking millions of dollars spent daily on this program. It's wild, worldwide. So every single day since the mid 90s, there's chemtrails being sprayed in the atmosphere. Okay, sometimes they'll spray the short little trails, that's barium oxide, barium salts, pardon me, and then they'll mix them with the longer trails, that's aluminum oxide, barium and aluminum being mixed together, so the lines look different in the sky, right? The different chemicals show up differently in the sky, but if you see anything nowadays, these high bypass turbofan jet engines on the wings of the aircraft, the passenger jets, they're not making blasting hot air like we're told through the programming. There's no contrail. That story's a big con. You see a line out of the back of some plane, it's 99.9%. I mean, it is always going to be, unless it's like a fighter jet. You know, if it's a passenger jet, it's always going to be chemicals actually being sprayed, and it's not necessarily a passenger jet. They're just having the markings on it. And there's a lot of tomfoolery going on with this. It's a big agenda. I mean, they're spending millions of dollars a day. They're building underground bunkers and whatnot, preparing for some sort of big event or whatever. There's a lot of money going into this. Of course, they manage the psychology surrounding it and are able to fool a lot of people through the pretend science and whatnot. But if you do the research and you keep your eye to the sky and you really look up and wake up and just watch the sky, you'll see the trends, which there's primer planes releasing precursor gases, which is barium. And that barium saturates the sky, and then they'll come along and spray some other stuff that sticks better because the chemicals have been laid out properly. So these chemicals are sprayed, and different events, micro and macro environmental events happen, such as drought, extreme hurricanes or tornadoes or flooding, whatever it may be. Almost all of these events nowadays are either completely engineered or exacerbated and influenced and steered through the engineering. You know, like, oh, there's a hurricane, let's make it bigger and let's steer it into this city, stuff like that. So it's ongoing, and every time there's one of these events, whether it be a heat wave or drought, I mean, like the heat waves, they will spray the sky with metallic aerosols, aerosolized metals, zap them with ground-based stations, microwaving the sky to near the temperature of the sun, right? Trapping the heat also with a blanket of heat, so the heat on the ground level can't rise because the atmosphere is super hot because of what they've done. But they'll actually layer the sky with metals, creating like a pressurized container where the heat of the day doesn't escape, and then you have a warm night, and you have a warm morning the next day. They will manufacture, completely engineer heat waves, and then say on the media, on the mainstream, oh, it must be global warming, climate change, and in the little fine print, it's like, scientists are thinking about ways to save us from this and to stop this. We're looking into certain things like not letting you drive your car around as much and locking you into 15-minute cities, and maybe even dimming the sun with solar radiation management. We're looking into different ways to go about that. We might use salts and calcite and sulfur, maybe diamonds, maybe mirrors, but maybe also aluminum. It's like, come on, we know you're already doing the aluminum. It's like, we're not stupid. But a lot of people don't know. So that's where we have to play our parts as activists and not be afraid of the truth, and not be afraid of spreading the truth, not be afraid of getting our feelings hurt or getting mocked or whatever it is that we're afraid of, right? Or being categorized or shunned or othered or, you know, peer ridiculed, whatever. This is all playground psychology tactics that we should be over by now as adults. So there's that. There's that whole manufacturing, the reasons that we need these new changes, you know, these economic or these environmental changes coming up, like restrictions of travel and whatnot, or whatever, you know, all this Agenda 2030. They create the problem, they create this scenario of global warming, and then problem, reaction, solution, they try to sell us some solution that's been manufactured, okay? So along with that, we've got these fires. The fires, it's important for people to understand what's going on with these fires. It's very layered, and it has everything to do with the weather engineering, the geoengineering, the chemtrails. Okay, I'm going to break it down, and thanks for bearing with me. So the constituents of the chemtrail sprays, right? The stuff being sprayed since the mid-90s. We're talking 30 straight years on forests and on us, but especially let's talk about these forests. Aluminum oxide and barium salts. Also, the aluminum oxide combines with the natural iron oxide in the environment, and those two mix together as they bond together in the trees is what makes thermite. So that's something to look into too. That's a whole new, like, why are these trees so flammable? It's a big puzzle piece of that story. But aluminum oxide and barium salts alone, these are patented fire accelerants. They are ingredients in fireworks. They make things go boom. Like, they are made to accelerate fires. So these are embedded in the trees, mind you, these chemicals sprayed on the trees for decades. Aluminum oxide, barium salts. Another problem is the aluminum, it gets in the soil and it disrupts the biome, the soil biology. So all the good guys kind of die off and the bad guys get to prevail because the alkalinity of the soil gets too alkaline. And so there's not a balance there, and then you have mold and fungus that grows that impacts the everything, not just the trees, but it impacts the trees and it impacts tree health, and then the trees can come down with like fungal diseases and what have you, mold and what have you. Okay. Also, the aluminum, it gets uptaken by the tree in the roots. And then once it's in the tree system, it breaks down their immune system. Then they're subject to bugs and all sorts of stuff like that. And then you've got dead trees everywhere, and that's bad for fires, right? Obviously. And then they're embedded with aluminum, like making them just little explosives everywhere. It's bad. It's bad. It's like a plan. It's planned, right? It's not just coincidence. Also, when the aluminum gets in the tree, these poor trees, right? It's like we're stewards. We're supposed to be the stewards here. So this knowledge is so important so that we can apply the knowledge and actually help future generations have healthy environment, have healthy trees, have trees, help the trees. Like nature needs us to help. It's really sad what we're doing to the world right now. Not we, but they and what have you. So once the aluminum gets uptaken into the tree, it prevents the tree from being able to properly uptake water. It makes the tree dehydrated. It's similar to what aluminum does in our brains. It gives us Alzheimer's and dementia because it makes us basically dehydrated. It makes the brain shrivel up. So the tree can't absorb water properly. It can absorb water and then it won't be able to hydrate itself because of the aluminum. Like what's happening to the bees as well, the bees' brains because of the aluminum aerosols being sprayed constantly. So the forests are all targeted and dried up and ready, and there's like a tinderbox. So they create this problem already, right? Then to make things even worse, they will engineer, and so all that I just said is all chemtrails. All that stuff is chemtrail stuff. So it's important to understand they're spraying chemtrails, right? This is a very important piece of the puzzle. You can't wake up in this world nowadays without knowing about the chemtrails. It's like the first puzzle piece or the gateway drug towards really awakening in this world. I've realized. So it's important to not scoff at it or not dismiss it. And those that do, I seriously question every single time. I'm like, is this a bot? Is this someone working for the baddies or what? What's going on here? Because if you don't see it by now, and you're not trying to see it, then why? What is up with you? Why? Anyways, because there's a lot of available resources right now. If you need advice, let me know. There's documentaries and all sorts of good lectures and resources available to wake up. Or you could just look at the sky every single day and realize what's going on. All it takes is like the seed to be planted right now is what I'm doing. And then maybe you can wake up just from the seed that I'm planting. Because it just takes watching the sky and remembering what it was like in your childhood and asking the right questions, because they'll be doing things on the edge of storm fronts and all this stuff. It's irregular and the abnormal appearance of the planes. There'll be times when there's nothing in the sky. No planes. No planes for a day. And then the next day they're zigzagging, making these lines on the edge of a storm front and stuff. It's very easy to wake up if you just give it the opportunity. If you give the truth the integrity that it deserves and honor it. If you honor the truth, it's very easy to actually wake up in this world. Because the truth is right there. It's hardly even hidden anymore. But it is a big kick in the face because most of our entire worlds revolve around lies. Sorry to say. So they'll engineer these catastrophes by putting the aluminum in the soil and the trees and what have you. And then they'll come along and engineer a windstorm, like crazy 60-mile-per-hour winds that firefighters, worst nightmare because it blows the fires around and you can't put them out, and the winds happen to be aiming towards freaking cities that are slated to be smart cities, or you know what I mean? A lot of coincidences, beyond coincidence, a lot of the stuff. So then, as we learn, the powers that be can engineer rain. They can engineer rain. They can make it rain. And last time I checked, water puts out forest fires. So you can make rain to put out forest fires, but instead they make wind on top of these fires. And they light the fires. So in North Carolina, South Carolina, the other night, not last night, but the night before, 175 fires were lit in the middle of the night. 175 fires were lit in wooded areas in the middle of the night. Like literally order out of chaos. This is like textbook Agenda 2030. They've been doing this. We've seen it. We saw it in Los Angeles recently. We saw it in Maui, Lahaina, Maui. We've seen it all in all these different suspect places. These fires just pop up. There's talk of how are these fires being lit. People are even saying that it could be directed energy weapons. It could also be a lightning precipitated through all the patents and technology that they have with that. It could also be just arsons on the ground. Either way, 175 fires got lit in the middle of the night. That's an attack, right? Like literally, like we're in the midst of a war, but the real war is for our minds, because if you can't see that that was an attack, and then you don't even know that you're at war. So first the first step is to unlock your mind and to free your mind, like from the mental slavery, literally uncage your mind. So 175 fires lit in the middle of the night, and now everyone's scrambling in poor North Carolina and South Carolina. North Carolina had the Hurricane Helene come through and flood the mountains, which never happens. The hurricane decided to not drop its rain until it went over the Asheville community, which was targeted. This was targeted hurricane, engineered and steered, and then designed to not drop its rain until a certain bit. You can spray clouds with actually aluminum, and it'll dissipate the moisture, kind of like what it does in our brains and in the trees. So the moisture can't come together and fall out of the sky. And then you can spray other things like silver iodide, or even dry ice, frozen carbon dioxide they use to seed clouds to make them rain. So you can make it not rain and then wait for it and then make it rain. So Hurricane Helene targeted North Carolina, flooded out the mountain regions of North Carolina. There's talk of high quality quartz that they were after, and lithium mining deposits and what have you. Also, a lot of awake people are there. So I think it's like a spiritual battle, and literally they wanted to flush out and devastate a lot of people that would be on the sustainability tip during their new world order hijacking, you know, because a lot of people are going to see through what they're doing, and they want to make sure some of those people maybe are taken care of early, right? Because it's a numbers game, and the powers that be are pretty evil and sophisticated and smart about this. They're obviously playing the slow, long game, and we're still scrambling to try to wake up our peers and family, and the time is now. People need to wake up. So they will, in North Carolina, South Carolina, 175 fires lit in the middle of the night. They are extreme winds over top of the fires, created winds, okay? And then to add to all of the horror, these fires are approaching towns and cities, right? Well, when the fires go and approach the towns and cities, I firmly believe that we're having surging smart meters like add to the devastation. The smart meter is electrically connected to the wiring of the entire home, and if you surge electricity through it, I think it's by design, then you've got a surging electrical fire throughout your home. Also, there's microwave frequencies, RF radio frequencies that the smart meter is always emitting, and even that signal could be fried to make the smart meter fry and act as an incendiary and literally weaponize neighborhoods with microwave technology. Having these lithium-ion batteries inside the smart meter surge, and then you've got all of a sudden a 5,000 degree electrical fire on the side of each home connected to the internal wiring that's convective and conductive and dispersing the heat throughout the home and having these homes burn from the inside out. So you've got this very well planned and designed weapon from the New World Order that is so beyond conspiracy that normies aren't going to be able to see it. These people that are normal, like sheeple, they're not going to be able to see this at all. Even if you try to explain to them, they'll not be able to see the writing on the wall because it's so advanced and deep. It's like normal people would be ready to wake up to a conspiracy if it was very, very simple and so in their face that and impacting them like this car is going to hit you if you step into the street kind of thing. But when it gets really layered, you start to sound like a conspiracy nutter and stuff like that. So it's very hard to explain all these things when it's like deep. So it's like maybe it's important to start with baby steps with some people and what have you, but it's important to know the big picture. So that's why I'm telling you the big picture. Okay, so then these neighborhoods are pulverized with fires. Also, the culprit seems to be smart meters and what have you, and of course the winds, and even oftentimes the firemen show up to help, and the water has been turned off, like the fire hydrants aren't even working. This has happened in numerous places now, and the local governments they say that their hands are tied. The cities are devastated, and then afterwards, insurance companies start changing their rules. You know, oh, we can't have this big of a financial loss, so we have to change our insurance rules for the next city. And the next city then it's like if you live next to a bush, you can't have a house or whatever, right? They start to change these rules. All part of the new world order plan. All part of Agenda 2030 to push people out of certain areas and into more dense, smart cities where they can be maintained. 15-minute cities where everything that you do has to take 15 minutes, because if you did more than that, it would be too much carbon output, because supposedly carbon is the big problem, right? Which it's not. So these cities are being leveled to the ground, and then you've got big investments like BlackRock and all these, trillionaires. They come in and they're like, "Oh, we could build this into a smart city," even though they were obviously talking about it because it's documented. They were talking about it, in the past couple of years. They wanted to do it. Same thing happened in the capital of the Philippines recently. We wanted to be a smart city, but they had to like destroy it first with back to back like 6 cyclone hurricane things. It was out of control, back to back to back to back. If you can't see the writing on the wall, I encourage you to give it a chance, do a little research, and start to ask the big questions. And then if you really need a push, there's movies out there like Frankenskies. That's a historical chronological timeline documentary that starts off in 1920 and goes through how we got to kind of where we're at. There's a sequel coming out as well, Frankenskies 2, Climate Chains, like Shackles, where it'll dive more into the fires and explain more. But if you need a taste, or if you need a tool to help people wake up, there are documentaries out there to help assist you. That's all for now. Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you can find it in your heart to honor the truth the best you can. Maybe it means just like building a garden bed and like teaching your kids what's what when it comes to growing food. Maybe it means doing that parasite cleanse that you have been wanting to do for a long time to get your energy on point so that you can help guide the way and light the torch for the next generation. Not everybody has to be on the front lines waving the signs on the street corner, handing out the flyers, making the movies, holding the protests and what have you. But you can do that, and you can help those doing it, but no pressure, but consider how you can play your part in this awakening, because we do need your help. And I appreciate and love all of you, and thanks for listening, and I hope you have a great week. Too bad, I just saw on Facebook that these videos only stay up now for 30 days, so enjoy it while it lasts. They keep changing things. I was surprised. I liked that I could put a video up there and it would be there for a while, and I come back and it has 50,000 views over 5 years or whatever. That's cool. I don't like the idea that it's going to be pulled in 30 days, but maybe I can re-record it and throw it up on another platform or something like that. But anyways, I'm going to keep trying to provide content more on this platform, because I do have it, and I'm very thankful and happy that it exists for now. Not everything's impermanent, I know, but much love and gratitude to everyone out there, especially those with the truth in their heart, and those seeking it and honoring it and sharing it. So peace for now. Thanks again. Bye.